Welcome to our video on astrological gardening, full moon in Gemini, horoscope with astrology, planetary archangels, and zodiac angels to magically help your urban or suburban garden and or agricultural project accomplish success so you can feed your family while creating a healthy community environment. As we continue to enter into the grand solar minimum, it becomes more and more important to be able to harvest our food from God's own plentiful earth. Using astrology to increase yield from crops is essential. Full moon in Gemini, the twins, accomplishes fullness of time for imaginative ideas to take shape, proving fruitful, especially regarding transportation and communication opportunities for purposes of important projects reaching their goal. Gemini full moon is an event that grants an occasion to complete access towards increasing networking, irrigation channels, and setting up of family or neighborhood or community gardens and farms, farmers markets, or classes for teaching everyday people how to grow their own food. Advertisements will be town halls, that kind of networking and broadcasting what you're doing, and advertising is going to be very, very important during this time. Meetings and also potluck gatherings for urban and suburban gardening during a full moon in Gemini, the twins, lunar phase establishes rewarding successful production of provisions. Edible gardens and agricultural projects often become magical and spiritual centers of artistic and creative expression, even when it comes to where, comes to how, and what crops will plant and cultivate and also harvest. So what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and then going ahead and getting ready to go ahead and bringing your plans to fruition, in addition to seed accumulation, storage, and usage in astrological sowing and also reaping. Communicating and interacting with Mother Nature and communicating with friends, family, extended family, and community for a unified ambition in producing edible crops generates an abundance of prospects for transport of seeds, produce, and equipment in relation to foodstuff, and also generating projects. Communication between suppliers, growers, and distribution. This is the kind of enterprise that reflects the workaday world pragmatic interests, as well as such edible gardens and small farms becoming spiritual centers, summoning up spirits of diverse agricultural goddesses and gods from various religions or spiritual belief systems from sundry and many civilizations and traditions. These types of projects have immense possibilities of engendering creative expression, as well as having high potential for shedding light upon future community awareness of the importance of supporting local farmers markets through purchasing of these fine co-ops and agricultural ventures as often as possible. Families, neighborhoods, and communities also benefit greatly from trading such edible crops and produce. These concepts are especially important to a grand solar minimum, and during the grand solar minimum, these types are going to become more and more important, these community enterprises, because the grand solar minimum, such as the one in which we now find ourselves, is only going to increase in making us have to pay attention to the fact that it's getting colder and some crops are not going to be as fruitful and others are going to be better. So we have to change what we're planting. Now, first, our disclaimer: watching this video or reading this document that's attached is an act of spiritual willpower, and any such action is considered magic. High magic should be used with all mindfulness, since powerful forces of manifestation are unleashed. This is intended exclusively for entertainment purposes. I'm Pastor Rosemary, the Astrology Angel. I'm a Rosicrucian seer, biblical astrologer, psychic, Gnostic, mystic, and this is a Readings by Rosemary angelic transmission. Yes, there are biblical astrologers. There are Rosicrucian seers. There are Christian psychics and Gnostic mystics. And this is the kind of familiarity with when people have been exposed to many cultures and their cultures have been homogenized and pasteurized, then expect people to be very learned, because they have to learn about everybody's culture in order to be what? Politically correct. So we have to learn about everybody else's culture, we have to bring it into our own, and we have to be able to fit it in Okay, because everybody has their own special culture. But cultures should be able to retain their own speciality. Okay, now some people are mixed. So understand that. Not everybody, some people have step parents. Some people are mixed in their cultural background, in their blood. Some are, some aren't. So understand not everybody's the same. Everybody's a very specific thumbprint. Just like each snowflake is different, so is a thumbprint. Every person's different. And if you don't want to have to be politically correct for this group, then anything goes. We don't have to be politically correct for any group. So understand that. All right, now, during a full moon lunar cycle, urban and suburban gardeners will profit from amplified energy being directed towards the roots of any produce you have selected to nurture. Now, this is a moon phase. It's a full moon in the sign of Gemini. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and focus on that. All right, we're going to focus on full moon in Gemini. Okay, this moon phase, just talking about the full moon phase specifically, it grants gravitational pull upon any water in the soil, although Luna is beginning her descent during a full moon. So her moonlight is excellent for cultivating bulb and root type crops like radishes, carrots, potatoes, rutabagas, or turnips. Full moon lunar cycle phase is plentiful for planting biennials and perennials, trees and shrubs, or performing transplantation of chosen crops as the urban or suburban gardener or farmer gets down to the root of engendering healthy growth. This is due to a waning moon from full moon to new moon. It is essential to be aware that if one desires to exploit Luna's most ample moonlight, in addition to having abundant amounts of water, one should plant 48 hours before a full moon phase using seeds of beans, melons, peas, peppers, squash, and tomatoes. Water in the earth will be pulled up by the moon, just like her influence over ocean tides. Although full moons have a more powerful gravitational pull, it may also take benefit from a new moon, which, while possessing much less moonlight, is helpful for cruciferous vegetables, lettuce, celery, spinach, or cabbage type of plants, due to the fact that a new moon also causes a wealth of water made available in the soil for growth of these varietals of produce. Periods of rest are equally important, and therefore at least 48 hours before the new moon is a good phase for fertilization, cultivating, harvesting, transplanting, relocating, or pruning crops. This is due to waning gravitational effects as well as declining moonlight. All phases of life are important, and the urban or suburban gardener needs to work within all of Mother Nature's spells. Okay, now we're going to get specifically to the full moon in Gemini. Focal point is a juncture when, due to Gemini being an air sign and masculine or yang in nature, this is when urban or suburban gardeners are going to eradicate weeds or locate and exterminate bugs, rats, or other pests due to this lunar phase of bright moon in the sign of the Twins being an unfruitful moon cycle. Now wait for a waning moon in Gemini for planting of landscaping type of plants or ornamental trees, food for sectioning or dividing portions of one's garden, or for decorative and colorful effects. There's a muskogee crepe myrtle tree that you can utilize, Jane magnolias, tulip pulpars, Kwanzaa cherry trees, or Cleveland pear trees are some wonderful examples. Gather seeds during a waning moon in Gemini, or treat the soil with compost or bark to shield ground. Now, separating perennials into two halves and planting each bisection independently is also recommended throughout a waning moon in the sign of the Twins lunar phase. Urban and suburban gardens the gardener's going to have to wait until a new moon in Gemini lunar phase to engage in gathering crop yields or for preparation of squash, yams, beets, carrots, and berries for desiccated storage. Fertilization of crops is also productive when there is a new moon in the astrological sign of the Twins. A waxing moon in the sign of Gemini is excellent for planting cantaloupes, honeydew melons and watermelon produce for provisions that are going to be for edible crops. Now, Gemini, the twins, is yang in nature, making it a happening of dry, infertile, and masculine energy, being a mutable water sign, generating frequencies of water, of air, regarding elemental associations. Due to the desolate nature of yang, airy and masculine Gemini, it's also a lunar transit when urban and suburban gardeners are able to gain much innovation from the twins' inherent creative thinking talents. Now, elementals such as sylphs of air are active at this happening and need to be balanced with undines of water, salamanders of fire, and gnomes of earth, and the undines of water. Now remember that each quality is a necessary attribute of life in Mother Nature's great plan. Planetary Archangel Gabriel rules over Luna, although this is a time when because it is a full moon, it's going to express projection, and it's going to express expansion of lunar energy frequencies, which can be used for healing. Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury, being the daytime habitation of this morning star, and therefore influence of planetary Archangel Raphael of Mercury holds sway during a full moon in Gemini. Now, since Mercury rules over Gemini, it's important for planting magic to invoke, or invoke a mercurial zodiac facet known as the attribute of God the Winged Messenger, found in Acts 14:12, the Douay-Rheims Bible, and they called Barnabas Jupiter, but Paul Mercury, because he was chief speaker. Zodiac Angel Umbriel rules over Gemini, the twins' astrology sign. Speaking of the full moon, we turn to Psalm 148, chapter 3 in the Webster Bible translation. Praise ye him, sun and moon, praise him, all ye stars of light. Information found in this document is based on the oral tradition known as Kabbalah, taught to me by Rosicrucian clergy when I was but a young girl, the facts of which I have committed to memory. Thank you for joining us, and please join us again.